TGIF, everyone. Hiya, Brock, Hugo. How you guys doing? How's everyone else doing? Okay. Hiya, Marco. So, Euro is challenging the recent highs here. Kind of a wedge. I still don't believe that we're going to head higher. In fact, I still think that there's a shot down to new lows, maybe 1680. Normally don't do this kind of thing on a Friday, but I think you could be short here with stops over 119. Okay, I still think that this is just a temporary low, and we have another shoe to drop. Same in cable. Yen, we're getting a nice little pop here. I would really like to see a rally back towards 1080. You know, it's a big topping formation. There really weren't any rallies to sell from the top last NFP day, last Friday. But this is going to be an important level, this 109.60. It's going to measure to 107.60 once we break down. So I'm starting to look ahead to next week and where I would be looking to short the yen, and that would be up here. So maybe there's a little bit more risk on. Maybe the S&Ps could even generate one more shot up. Something that is happening here that you haven't seen in a while is NASDAQ lagging. And that's because there's news about an executive order by Biden to try and deal with the size of all the big fangs. So, you know, if the FTC isn't going to do it, I think Biden's going to do it. Gold, I thought we might have one more shot up here. I still think this is a short as well, and that we're headed beneath these lows, 1720, and silver has really been dogging it compared to gold. So still negative silver, and the dollar looks like it could have another run here. I don't think we're going to take out 92. Could probably be long, looking for one more shot up to 93.50. So those are my calls. The next one is yours, and your next call should be to these guys to join. Okay. Who had a good week? Give me a Y if you had a good week. It was pretty choppy. You know, Euro did kind of stood out by itself while the dollar was rallying. Makes me think that an EG, right when I thought it was going to break down again, it had this kind of day from the 78.6 level. So congratulations, Ed and Kay, on a good week. Did you get any help out of the analysis here at F.A.C.E? Or you just come here? You do? Okay. Good, Alexander. Who's going to become the new member today on Friday so that they could, yes, good. All right, so we're glad to help. You know, our mission every day is to build up and edify traders, and it's a whole team effort. So I'm going to bring in my teammate, Stelios.
Scoliosis sounds like a disease.
That's the plural, both of you. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, everybody. I'm very good.
Okay.
We're going on holidays for a week next week.
Oh,
I'll still be
That's
working.
why you're very good.
Oh, the rotation is on. Blake, then you, and then Steve, right?
I still have my laptop and be on the webinars and everything, but
where are you going? An island?
We're going to a place. No, we're driving around 2 hours away from Athens. In my brother's coming from London, and a friend of mine. And
that's what you were worried about. The COVID might interrupt it. Good.
Yeah, exactly. But they seem to have got away with it. So
all right.
Anyway, all good, all good. The markets, you know, kind of. Let me take the screen first.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Screen. Continue. Markets recovering today. In fact, we're close to the highs from before the drop yesterday. So, we've been talking about this for a while, and what will it take to have a prolonged move lower in equities? And I think yields going to 130 in the 10-year US is not going to help any downside move in equities, at least not anything significant. Remember, yesterday we zoomed out on this chart, and it was a tiny blip, and the blip has been almost reversed. So, for all intents and purposes, unfortunately, I still think we're in the same situation. Remember, this is summer markets, they're quiet markets. You really don't want to short quiet markets. At least that's the theory. So we're recovering a little bit from yesterday's move. The dollar, again, is losing a little bit of ground, but it could well bounce one more time, like you said, Coach. 93.5, maybe 94. It's always on the cards. The problem is that sentiment has now gone back to kind of neutral. Positioning is not as skewed as it was before, but I'm not ruling that out as a move. But as I said before, I think it's going to be a grind, and it's going to be a little bit choppy. I don't think we're going to see a lot of direction or moving direction in the next weeks in the summer. I hope I'm wrong, because we all like volatility. What did we have to mention? Okay, we had the ECB minutes a little while ago, and there were some calls for a slowdown in the asset purchases, so PPP and the rest, but consensus was broad to keep it to continue at a higher pace, or at the current pace, basically. So there was some calls for that to slow because inflation is going higher, and there were some members. I don't think they gave us details, but they said they should be scaled back somewhat. But for the moment, they're not changing anything. Remember, we have several other central banks who are changing their tune. Bank of Canada did. The RBA, RBNZ. We're expecting Norges Bank to hike later this year. They had inflation print today 2.9%, flat to last print, and year on year this is. So it's quite a bit higher than their target, and they're expected to be hiking. So we're seeing a general shift, slow shift in central banks. I'm sure they would all love to just keep the pedal to the metal and change nothing, but with inflation ticking higher as it is now, they have to at least show that they're talking about it, about hiking or tapering or doing whatever they need to do. So those were the ECB minutes. It didn't really give us much else. The euro dollar is probably something like up 10 pips, so really nothing after the minutes. And currency wise, we're given the risk on move today, we're seeing we're seeing the Aussie is higher, the Kiwi is higher. So commodity currencies are trying to recover a little bit. What else is there to say? We had some more data. UK manufacturing production, industrial production, they all missed, but not significantly to cause any troubles. And again, the talk of the town, or the talk of people, is now about COVID again, and it's so frustrating. We had yesterday the decision of the Tokyo Olympics to not have spectators. So I have no idea which athletes are going to go now, but this is not good. And I'm reading about Asia and South America. The number of people getting infected is rising. I read a statistic which was quite interesting, that from the last million deaths from COVID, almost 50% were from India and Brazil combined. So there are areas in the world where this is flaring up, and variants and new variants and all that crap. Sorry to use this language, but it just gets on my nerves, and I really don't know what we can do.
There's problems with low vaccinated states here in the U.S. too, where the Delta variant, mainly in the South. So there are some pockets of pretty serious breakouts, and mainly unvaccinated people are getting sick. I don't know about breakthroughs, but those are happening too in Israel.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's really close friends with a specialist on viruses and stuff, and he said this is the first time in history, human history, that we're dealing and vaccinating against a virus which is still evolving. And they said this never happens. Usually what happens is it runs its course, it settles to whatever it's going to settle, and then they attack it. Now, we've got the vaccination, now there's a new variant, and then there's going to be another one. And he says this is a huge experiment that
doesn't have, that's not true. The flu keeps evolving.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Always
about
did.
well, yes, but in terms of how quickly they brought vaccines to to the public. I mean, this was unprecedented.
Yeah, the speed was definitely unprecedented to create the vaccine. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is, but unfortunately, it's still ongoing, and I dread to think what happens when we get to autumn and winter, which is fertile ground for viruses to explode higher. So I mean, I don't know what to say.
How much of your country is vaccinated now, Stel? Do you know?
We've done a big percentage. I think one dose is something like over 70%.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And 2 doses, I think 50% or something like that. So we've done well, but
it's kind of like the U.S.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. But we are open for tourists, so we're going to be importing them.
All right, that's good.
Okay.
What do people have to show to get into the country? A vaccination card and tests, or what?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. They keep changing things, but more or less it has most of the time being a combination of tests and being vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, like you save, number of tests and some quarantine time you don't get at all. Something like that. If you don't want quarantine, you have to have multiple tests. Before you go, when you
is it required to bring you a snack if you're coming in from overseas? Buddy. All right. Anyway.
Yes. So what else to talk about? You talked about metals, silver and gold. They're not looking too hot at the moment. And I still think that gold could have another leg lower, test these lows here, 1750, whatever it is. It could easily happen especially if the dollar rallies. And but again, like I said yesterday, I think any dollar rallies should be a selling opportunity, and any gold and silver sell-off should be a buying opportunity. That's my view, and that's what I'm doing. Cryptos are looking pretty weak. Bitcoin is still hugging the bottom line of this bearish flag. And Dogecoin is the only one underperforming because Elon Musk tweeted something about it a few hours ago, and it went up 8% within a minute. But yeah, cryptos is
live by the sword, die by the sword. It's really funny, when he pumps them, he's good. When he dumps them, he's horrible.
He's evil, yeah.
But they don't all seem to understand that if you are in an asset class that can move at any direction on any given day, just because somebody tweets about it,
I don't want to be in that asset class. Sorry.
Yeah, same here. Sorry, no, I'm gonna go with something else.
Yeah. And so Bitcoin is near the lows, and we've said it before. It's pretty big now. Cryptos is a big asset class, over $1 trillion cap. And if crypto start going, you can bet that others are going to follow. We do have institutional interest now, so it's becoming more important.
We did have institutional interest at 60 on the way to 60,000, Stelio.
You think they got out?
Knowing how institutions work, the average investor might have liked, let's say, Bitcoin or on its way to 60,000, might really love it at 30,000, right? Do you think the same applies to institutions? I mean,
of course not.
Exactly. You've been in an institutional level for many years. Can you think of any bank that would be like, guys, we really need to get some of that, and then seeing it getting cut in half, or even more, because who knows? We're not done yet, right?
Yeah.
This move lower might end up being 70%, 75%, 80% from the highs.
Yeah.
The
institutions, in contrary to like the average people, they don't look at it in a religious way. You know,
exactly.
It's another market. They're there to make money and to, you know, and you're reading all these banks who are now offering products on cryptos and this. Of course, they want the cut. They want people who trade it.
Of course they do.
To trade it through them, and you know, they get the commissions. I've seen that.
And that's the easiest money to get involved with, because it's the only one that's risk-free, right? I mean, it's like, how did they used to say it? Back when there was the gold digging mania in the 18th and 19th century.
Yeah, you have to be the one who's selling the shovels.
The shovels, yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are the only ones that definitely made money, because a lot of the people that went there in hope of finding gold never succeeded, right?
Correct,
but the ones that were selling supplies to them did.
Or like the movie says, no matter what happens, Duke and Duke make their commission. Remember, trading places.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so yeah, otherwise it's been a quiet, apart from the slow grind higher in equity, it's been a quiet day, and I don't see anything. What do we have in terms of data? Canadian data. Yeah, we don't have much. So I don't see what's gonna disrupt markets going into the weekend.
Yeah, we have, as you said, in 15 minutes, we have employment change in Canada, where we expect like a big number. We had a horrific number last print was -68. We're expecting plus 195. We're also expecting a major drop in unemployment rate from 8.2 to 7.7. So yeah, I mean, the market is optimistic about this time around. Let's see, because as you know, Canadian data also have the tendency of being very volatile.
Yes, that is very true. Yeah, so yeah, I don't have much else to say. I don't know if you have any charts you want to show or anything you want to mention, but
yeah, sure, we can we can talk about a few things. Although I don't disagree with anything you said in your introduction. In essence, today is a day that is trying to retrace, you know, what happened, you know, late night yesterday and early morning hours. And you know, the
VIX
question
is shaping up, don't you think, Steve?
Say again, coach. Sorry.
VIX is shaping up. Looks like we might be trying to put in a right shoulder here.
We talked about VIX and VXN yesterday specifically. But I don't remember if it was here or in the morning edge.
Morning edge.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, remember, I was talking about all those ghost trades, and the wicks that it was leaving reminded me of silver before it bottomed.
Yeah, I remember
where it would open sharply lower. It had a pretty good day. It's retracing from yesterday's high, but almost looks like you have a neckline up around the 21.5, 22 level. And I don't think we'll see 14 again. Maybe back to 16.
Listen, the case with the VIX and the VXN, which I went over yesterday for our ForexAnalytix members, is the following.
Yeah, you got the same look.
We have we have a jump yesterday in the VIX, and here's the VXN, by the way.
Yeah.
So we had a jump, and look at the VXN. I focused specifically on the VXN because, you know, it had this perfect longer-term descending wedge.
That is
and
pretty.
You know, we kept testing support again and again and again and again. We also had a period of time during which we saw clear RSI divergence, right? Now, having said that, we did get that jump yesterday, but we were a little bit shy, both here in the VIX and the VXN, of closing to higher highs, to create a higher high, right? Which is the basic building block of seeing a reversal. And having said that about the VIX, same thing applies to the indices themselves, right? So we had this sharp move lower in the S&P, and we have this recovery. But really, if we want to continue lower, we have to do it from here. I mean, we start recovering more, then, the structure becomes something completely different, and new highs look more likely than a continuation lower. And here's the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq yesterday at its lows held exactly this trend line support from this larger ascending wedge. So bottom line, what I'm trying to say is that yes, there is a chance that we're going to continue lower, having seen a sharp move lower. But there is, and that's what I was explaining to one of our members yesterday, specifically because they asked for it. There is no technical damage done yet that would have me cheering up like, yes, we've broken down, so now we definitely need to see a deeper corrective move lower. No, I think the chances are at best 50-50 that we're going to see more downside, and that's at best, because first of all, you need to respect the fact that we're still in uptrends that haven't been broken. Second of all, unfortunately, you need to respect the fact that we are in a market environment that the moment something goes wrong and we get a downtick, one way or another, everybody steps in and tries to help, right? I mean, Fed governors start making statements. The government itself starts trying to push forward the envelope that, oh, don't worry, infrastructure spending is, one step away, and yeah, so on and so forth. So yeah, I don't know. I'm I'm afraid that it's not unlikely at all that this is going to be another one-day firecracker lower that gets a lot of people enthusiastic about it, and especially during summertime, most of them don't have follow through. Now, as I've said before, I do believe that within the summer we're going to have at some point a very we usually have during summer time at least one rather sharp, interesting corrective move lower. But of course, there's no guarantee that this is the one, right? It might not. In any case, you don't want to see these indices keep pushing higher today, because in essence, they invalidate the corrective move scenario, at least in this case. And we're going to have to to wait and see what the next excuse is going to be, right? Yeah. So, somewhat correlated to the fate of the stock markets, this one looks somewhat better though, is also the fate of crude oil. So we drew this yesterday, like crude oil completed like the minimum type of corrective move, which is like a two-leg lower type of correction with equality target, and we did that. And we're now backtesting this broken channel trend line support as resistance. So as you see, there is some resemblance here, meaning, if crude oil wants to have a deeper correction than the one it had, it also needs to more or less roll over from where we currently are. So bottom line, if you're the type of person that, wants to jump a little bit the gun, this is a good entry point to try your luck being short crude. But of course, you need to be cognizant of the fact that, we're in a big uptrend, right? And there is a chance that we've already completed this corrective move lower. So keep that in mind. But in any case, I do think that crude oil still has a chance of, producing more downside from there. Also, and I can also show this on actually the daily chart, gold and silver. Here is gold that has stalled at an important confluence of resistances. And here's silver that, in essence, rolled over earlier than gold. It hasn't broken down, but it did roll over earlier than gold. I think they both maintain the type of price action that validates my initial assumption that this might be a period of consolidation before seeing another low before we can finally find the low and continue higher. So in the short term, I'm leaning towards more weakness in the precious metals, and that's one of the reasons why, despite the rebound higher we're seeing in the vast majority of currencies against the dollar, I still believe that there is, and despite my medium to long term pessimism having to do with the fate of the dollar, I still believe that in the short term, there is a decent chance that we might see more strength in the dollar before the dollar finds a high and turns lower for, who knows what kind of a move next. Having said that, admittedly, these are turning once again to not be easy markets to trade, right? I mean, this type of thing that we've been seeing, a slow grind, and then when you get something like a volatile move and some hope that you're finally entering a period, even if it's a short-lived period, that you're going to have more volatility and easier trading conditions in the market, and then it immediately comes in doubt if that's the case. Yeah, these markets are really really nasty markets. So I think that somebody needs to be careful in the way you approach them. Bottom line, you shouldn't be going like all in the moment you see something resembling like a decent move, because there are a lot of fake moves happening lately. So I think you need to be scaling in and out of positions, that it's going to help you commit more when you get more confirmation that actually something is happening here. Now, since we have Canadian data coming in less than 3 minutes, we might as well. Do you have a guest, by the way, today, Dale?
Cancelled.
Oh, cancelled. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So since we have Canadian data coming, we might as well focus on, which is anyhow an interesting dollar pair. We might as well focus on USD CAD and see how data might influence it from a technical perspective. So let's pull it up both on the daily and the 4-hour chart. So here's the 4-hour chart, and to show you the formation I have on the drone on the daily, this is the one. This is a symmetrical triangle from which we broke above, and this is what we drew some time ago. It's been unfolding nicely so far. I think there might be more upside to come if we extend the first move higher. That has an implied target of 127.70, but even before that, there is an interesting area of resistance around 126.40. So bottom line, if Canadian data disappoints, I think it's going to be technically a very nice position anywhere between here and a back test of this broken triangle strand line resistance as support. It's going to be a nice area for USD CAD to unfold one last time, or at least one last time to the upside, with 126.40 being the next upside resistance. Now, of course, irrelevant to the Canadian data, but you're going to notice that USD NOK has a rather similar formation, right? Whoop, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. USD NOK had a very similar formation. Now, theoretically speaking, they've both fulfilled the minimum target, right? Which was one higher high, right? So theoretically speaking, it's not impossible for those to have found a high. I would favor, I still slightly favor, as I explained before, though, perhaps one more move higher in the dollar before it's done correcting. Anyhow, 10 seconds before the data, let's see what we get.
Yep, so 195K expected. And we have Nothing yet.
A little bit of a delay, as it seems.
Are they trying to find the negative sign? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not the fault of data flash, because I also monitor other things. Yeah, there's no data coming out yet. They're delayed for some reason.
Yeah.
They just want to keep the suspense going.
Usually leaked early, right?
There we go.
Unemployment 7.8%.
Let's see employment change.
The loony drama, yes.
Coming out. So unemployment is more or less where expected. I'm assuming that that means that probably employment change is also decently positive, unless we had a big drop in participation rate. That's the other alternative.
Based on that number, it's probably going to be, oh, there you go.
Ooh,
230.
Yeah. So it's a very strong number, actually.
Yes.
Okay, so the expectations were more or less correct. Very strong data. That's why we see the USD CAD pushing lower. Now, for the bullish case scenario to be alive, we don't really want to see USD CAD dipping below this area, right? This trend line support. So far, the reaction to the data has been rather contained, likely because the data were somewhat what was expected. I mean, yes, the change in employment was better than expected. On the other hand, the unemployment rate was a little bit worse than expected. Of course, I haven't seen the details of the data, but if the little bit higher unemployment rate than the one expected was due to increase in participation rate, that's not a bad thing.
Small increase in participation rate.
Okay, that's not a bad thing then. That's not a bad thing at all. I mean, having a little bit worse than expected employment data because more people are coming back to the labor market is not a bad thing at all.
That's what you want to see. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see an eventual decrease in unemployment, but with participation rate steadily increasing. Yeah, actually, it was a decent jump in participation rate, 65.2 versus 64.6. That's actually quite a big. Yeah, that for participation rate and for a single month, that's quite a decent rebound in participation rate. So I have to say that the Canadian data were good all around, because even the slight miss in unemployment rate was fully excused by the increase in participation rate. Probably the increase in participation rate is such that we might have even seen lower than 7.7 that was expected if participation rate remained the same. So Canadian data quite good. We're seeing the USD CAD that has already started a move lower since yesterday. As I said, for the bullish case scenario to be alive, we don't want to see this extend below that one, right? If we do see that, then there's a very good chance that we completed the corrective move up there at 125.85. Of course, the same applies to USD NOK, right? You don't want to see it deep below this broken trend line resistance, because then we've probably seen the high over there at, what was it, 881, 882.
Our friend Kay wrote, "Who knew Canadians wanted to work?" That's so funny. Nice. Oh man.
We live in funny times, don't we?
We do. Well, when people get given motivation to not work, it's difficult to go back.
It is.
Yeah.
Try not driving for a year or so, and then you get desensitized, and then, you don't want to get behind the wheel as much. I know you guys are, Mario Andretti types, but that happens to people. You stop doing something, and then it's hard to get back on the horse.
Of course. Okay, perfect.
All right, well,
thank you, Steve. Thank you, Dale.
Okay, so we wish everybody a lovely weekend. And
thank you.
As always, we're going to be back here in 40 minutes for ForexAnalytix members. And as Dale would say,
yeah, what do I say?
This is the perfect time for you to start your trial if you haven't done so already, right, Dale?
Yeah. And learn to navigate the site over the weekend and get ready, and also
take part of all the member webinars next week.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
Yeah. Have a great trading summer.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be a calm, dull summer, but at least, or maybe I'm just talking my book, but I don't think it's going to be. So you want to be prepared, and part of your preparation is intelligence gathering with us, because you have all of Steve and Blake's and Stell's and Grega's and Andre's work, and then in the chat room you have Amanda. Paulie is in there. We have great traders in there, so a lot of advantages for just 9-10 pips a month. Should be able to get that back in spades. And who's going to do it? Anyone want to sign up today? We'll give you a round of applause and a round of drinks. Okay.
COVID drinks.
All right. Well, guys, have a nice weekend. What's the water temperature in the Aegean Sea
Trust
today?
me, it's warm.
Really?
Come on, check it out.
I gotta go. All right. Listen, everyone. Everyone have a great weekend. While I'm sweltering in the high desert with 100 degrees, and the pool is closed, and so I'll be inside most of the weekend, just being a hermit. Okay, so have a great weekend, everyone. And
you do, Dale, and everybody else.
Yeah, and
take care.
Take care, Stel. I'll see you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's a wrap. Adios.